What's up, my ninjas? Oh my god. So today I am reviewing something I had been meaning to do for a little bit. I about I want to say 3 weeks ago I picked up the Bandai 3 3/4 inch Thundercats figures. And I was thinking, I love the show. The show is awesome. It would make a lot of sense to just have some representation of these characters in my collection because I missed them the first time around. I think I only had Panthro, and the original Thundercats figures were complete shit. I mean, we were kids, so they were awesome to us as kids, but now when you look back, it's like, wow. And I traded Rodimus Prime to some kid for freaking Panthro, and Rodimus Prime wasn't the greatest figure because you just really couldn't do anything with him except transform him, but he was a hell of a lot better than the Thundercats figures. But anyway, it brings me to these figures. Once I did say, and it's a fact, Bandai makes some of the best figures, hands down. Now, they're the best figures in areas, but they also make the worst figures as well. Some of the lack of focus and the lack of design ability and functionality is just mind-blowing on these figures. They're fucking ridiculously poorly thought out, and I mean, whew, some of them, I was trying to get a 7-inch scale Panthro because obviously Panthro is the favorite, since I had him the first time around. And he was corny. I figured this time around, look for him in the right scale. Excuse me, sorry. I've had a long day. Anyway, I can't find one that has the eyes painted in the right place. I mean, the QC is fucking horrendous with these figures. But anyway, I've spent 2 minutes just setting up my review on the 4 figures that I picked up. And I almost wish I didn't pick them up, but I opened them quickly and threw out the packaging, and I lost the receipt, which you never do. I don't know what I was doing. I must have cleaned right after I got them or something. I don't know. But anyway, here's the review. So first off, we're going to start with Lionel. And, I mean, the design is nice, which is why I wanted the figure in the first place. I mean, they managed to catch most of the details of the figure. I mean, his face is well sculpted, well painted. But you notice some things immediately, like those black pegs. They should have made them the same color as his skin. I don't know what they were thinking. Besides the Sword of Omens, he comes with the shorter, retracted Sword of Omens and the claw shield or whatever. The shield just clips onto his hand. The shortened Sword of Omens clips onto the inside of the claw shield. They don't really hold perfectly on his hand, which kind of sucks. So, if you do decide to play with the toy, I mean, he's durable. It's going to be falling off all the time, so you're going to need to find something to hold it back on there. His sword, I don't know. You saw the cat symbol on his belt. It's painted nicely, but the eye on the eye of Thundera is not, painted. It's just red, and it's sculpted. I don't know why they did that. But, when you look at it up a little bit closer, it's kind of like, why didn't they just paint this thing, There's details on the sword, and there's little things they could have put there, but, this is Bandai. You would expect them to do stuff. I mean, this is the same company that gives us SH Figuarts, gives us, actually, even the Power Rangers figures have better detailing and better articulation than this. But, like I said, there's a lot of things that make this line kind of... Anyway, the pegs is the first thing. Also, why didn't they just paint the back of his legs? The backs of his legs are completely different from the front, as if, I mean they're flesh colored. I mean, you can see there's bands that are holding the shin guards to his legs, and they didn't even paint those. It's just like they really half-assed the design and the paint process, and I don't know, it just wasn't, these figures aren't well engineered at all. So when he turns to the left, he's good as far as his head articulation goes. If you try to turn his head to the right, you're going to see some problems. Also, there's on all the figures, there's this big box sticking out of their backs because there's a magnet that activates some features on some of the vehicles, which is kind of lame. So like I said, you turn to the right, you're okay. You turn to the left, his hair juts up against the shoulder pad and it starts to come off. The head is on a ball joint, but it doesn't do anything ball, like, you know, that's indicative of a ball joint, which is kind of stupid. It's almost like, what was the point? There's no upper swivel on his arms, so he can't hold the sword in front of his face and do the awesome sight beyond sight thing. See? No line, no cut, nothing. He doesn't even have a swivel at the elbow joint, which is just fucking asinine. It doesn't even make sense. This is a Cobra Viper, and he can hold the freaking Sword of Omens better than Lion-O. Lion-O, you just got jacked. Look at that. So apparently, you know, Thundercats weren't meant, the Lord of the Thundercats isn't meant to have better articulation than the rest of the Thundercats. Instead, we gotta let Cobra handle it. Sight beyond sight. Give the Cobra Viper sight beyond sight. It's a fucking shame. It doesn't make any sense that they would make this figure, and there's a separate figure that was made that has this action, which doesn't make sense. I mean, I understand that this company is trying to make money, and they want to keep on, you know, having kids buy all these figures, but just to have him do that, the one action that he should already do, we're going to have to buy a whole new figure? I believe the Cobra Viper has something to say about this. Yeah, no. To this, we say no, 100%. You know what else I think the Cobra Viper says? And I think I feel the same way? Off with his damn head. Yeah, these figures are garbage. If you want to have a representation of Lion-O, then I guess you need to get it. But besides that, nah, I would skip them. And I'm not even done with the review yet. But Cobra's helping me tell you how I feel. Anyway, Panthro. Now, plain and simple, he's the gem of the whole line. He doesn't have any extra articulation in comparison to some of the other figures, but what he does have actually works. I mean, you can see he can actually use his nunchucks because his wrists turn, and that's about the maximum amount of articulation that he needs in his arms to actually work those nunchucks. He is huge and he's top heavy, but somehow they managed to get his legs to kind of work, you know. And if they don't work, you could use those little rubber bands that you get from the dollar store to like ponytail holders and put them in between the legs, and it'll widen up the space so that you can, you know, you'll have a tighter hinge over there. I'll probably do a video showing you guys what I'm talking about. But yeah, he looks exactly like the character from the animated series. Every detail on this tinier version of Panthro is there. They even outlined around his eyes so that you can see the details in the pupils of his eyes. The Thundercat symbol is really well painted. It's like a stamp. It's perfect on all of these figures. I'll give him that much. All his scars, everything. I like this figure. Being that this was the only Thundercat that I had when I was a kid, I was like looking for Panthro. I was really looking for, I actually really wanted a 7-inch scale Panthro. And since I couldn't find that, I was like, you know what, I'll settle for the smaller Panthro. And even for a 3 3/4 inch figure, he's still ginormous because he like towers over my G.I. Joes, and he even towers over my SIC Phi's, which is cool, you know, I dig that. You can see little things like the spikes on his gloves are painted, like the fur sticking out of his glove is painted, or the ripped portion of his glove is painted. Same thing on his boots. His feet are different. You see they painted those, or they painted the boots on top of the sculpt of the feet. It just looks good. Once again, same thing on his vest. Same thing with the scars. They didn't really slop anything, you know. It's kind of strange that it's the same line, and then here's the attention to detail. They got the nunchucks looking proper. You got 2 types. Those are the only 2 accessories he comes with. One that he can actually use to fight with, and another one that you just clip on his back. Like so. Yeah, it's exactly what you need so that you have a Panthro that looks like the Panthro in the TV series. And if you dig him, I say pick this one up. this particular one. Pick him up. He's almost a must-have. Now on to the big fail, Chitara. So I had to give her that big staff. It's a piece from a old McFarlane figure. Because the staff she came with was a flimsy mess that was bent up in the package, and I threw it out when I opened this toy. Anyway, standing still, it's an awesome, representation of what she looks like in the TV series. And I like that they did that. But as soon as you start moving her around, that's when you notice that there's problems, The big problem is she doesn't even have a neck joint. At least not a workable neck joint, because her hair is like locked to her back. But I'll go into that. But anyway, as you can see, the details are nice. The paint job is okay except for on her arms. It's like the lower part of her upper arm is a different color from the rest of her arm, like two different plastics. You can look immediately at her legs. They were kind of warped in the package. It kind of pissed me off. I put her in hot water. It still didn't really help that much. From sideways, you can see that big old square sticking out of the back of her hair, which, it's like you could have just kept it hidden beneath the plastic and left the plastic the same color as the hair. But, I don't make toys, I just collect them, and somehow, I guess what we have to say, it doesn't matter. But like I said, overall, costume-wise, painting, sculpt-wise, it looks like Chitara. It's a good representation. If you have her standing still, then it's awesome. If you want to move her around, that's when you have problems. So that's as good as she can do, putting her hands together to do things like this. Storm Rider's like, yeah, fuck you, Chitara. It just doesn't make any sense. You've got G.I. Joes that are a little bit smaller, and they exist, There's lots of companies that rip off, the G.I. Joe tooling, and you would think that if Bandai's going to go in this direction, that they would do the same thing, but they didn't. And, it gives me some ideas, and also gives Storm Rider some ideas. I think he's not happy about the fact that they should rip off the G.I. Joe tooling, and they didn't. And the fact that I actually bought this figure kind of pisses him off, just like it pisses me off. So I think Storm Rider has something that he wants to do. And I think you should get to it, Storm Rider. That's right. Beat that damn toy's ass. The toy is whack. It's sad that the Thundercats, being as awesome as the show is, and as well done, and as much as it's getting people's attention, that they're not going to put the right amount of care into the line. It's just sad. You'd think that a company like Bandai, that's been around for so long, that makes so many lines, with so much thought put into articulation and details and weapons, that they would be able to imitate a simple anime show, or an anime style show. This is a big fail on their part. I'm pissed that I bought this figure, actually. But whatever. On to the next review. We have Tigra. Visually, there are aspects of Tigra that are a little off, but overall, he's not a horrible figure. The gun is well sculpted. It's kind of strange that they didn't sculpt him with a finger, outward to go into that, excuse me, to go into the trigger hole. But, everything else works. It's functional. His whip is made of a light rubber, so it's real bendable and pliable, whatever. The armor is well sculpted. It's well painted. The one shoulder pad thing, for whatever reason, seems to screw over a lot of figures in this line. The guns fit snugly in the holster. The belt is a kind of a weird area. It has a peg on one side. I'll get to that, and I'll tell you more about it in a second. But yeah, the boots and the feet, they did a good job painting over the colored plastic. He also has that little box in his back, but it from sideways you don't really see it so much, and somehow it feels like part of the armor, which isn't so bad, but you can kind of see it better over there. For him, for whatever reason, it doesn't really stand out the way it did on Chitara. I think maybe because they painted this the right color. The belt, though, The belt and the holster. The holster is perfect. The belt itself is fine, but there's a peg on his left-hand side. I think you can kind of see it over there. And that peg is supposed to hold the belt in place so that you get it on a slant, but it doesn't really work properly. You know, it pops out often. Also, he has lower leg articulation. You can twist, it's like a swivel on his lower leg right at the knee. But then he also has it at the top, at the thigh, which almost seems redundant because a lot of figures that have it there don't have it on the lower part because you can turn the whole leg. I don't know. But anyway, he's posable. He doesn't look horrible. If you like Tigra, then you should get him. But on a whole, I would say straight up, just ignore this line. Ignore this line. Panthro the jewel. The rest of them, man, I can't. In my right mind, I can't. I was thinking of actually, when I didn't really like them, I was like, maybe I'll give them to my son. You know, they're so bad, I refuse to give them to him. You know what I want to do? I want to walk up to a homeless person and drop these in their lap. That's what I feel about these figures. You know, because I was a kid of the 80s, and I feel like this is just another time where you rape my damn childhood in a bad way, you know? Good thing the show is awesome. The show is pure awesome, so keep watching the show. But don't buy these fucking toys. They're a waste of money. The 7-inch figures aren't that good. The articulation is really weird and not in the right places. They're also a strange scale. But this small Panthro, the 3 3/4 inch Panthro, he's worth it. That's why he's here cheesing like, yep, But as for the rest of them, shoot, kill them. They are not worth it. There are tons of other lines that you could actually spend the money on. I mean, the price point actually is okay, but I say get rid of them. So those are my thoughts on these horrible piecemeal ass figures. As usual, I'll be back with more reviews. I'll be back with the pit review actually, and as usual, check me out on my website. All right, people, peace.